What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today in this video, once again, we've got a bunch of things to talk about. Faction Rally, Iron Banner, private matches, and a very important tip on how to level up fast that you should definitely know about, because it will save you a lot of time and confusion. So firstly, let's talk about Faction Rally. So Bungie revealed what it's about in a blog post, and it's basically exactly what we hoped it would be. So you pledge to a faction, either New Monarchy, Dead Orbit, or Future War Cult, and at the end of the event, one of the faction with the most rep actually wins. We'll talk about what that means in a second, but essentially the vendors are going to arrive next Tuesday in their designated spots. The event itself lasts for 1 week, and they didn't detail if they're going to disappear, if the vendors will go away after the week until the next Faction Rally, but essentially it's almost like a monthly event, similar to Iron Banner, so it makes the gear a bit more special, the fact that it's limited. So like I said, you pledge to factions and then you go and do activities like public events, Lost Sectors, Strikes, the Raid, Crucible, and you'll get tokens for the faction that you pledge to, which you can then redeem with the faction for loot in packages. So firstly is Dead Orbit. Now this was the faction I always went for personally, it was always my favourite, but I'm not going to lie, I think their stuff is pretty ugly this time round if I'm honest. I think this is definitely the worst of all three of these sets, but I'm not a fan of the armor. I think the weapons don't look that great either. You can already get the pulse and the hand cannon, which are nothing special. The sidearm probably won't be too great, and the shotgun could be good if it's like Hawthorne's one, it looks similar. But the shaders are of course where Dead Orbit makes up for it, because these are black and white, mostly black anyway, and these are obviously very rare. You don't get black and white shaders in Destiny that often, so Dead Orbit is probably going to win in terms of shaders. The gear doesn't look that great, the shaders definitely make up for it. Now next up we have Future War Cult, some very nice looking armor and some really good looking weapons. I already have the auto rifle, which is definitely amazing, and they're mostly Omlon. The hand cannon is the same as Better Devil, so the weapons are probably going to be very, very good. I've never been a fan of their shaders because they look a bit like a clown, but I think Future War Cult is going to have the best weapons for sure. And then finally there's New Monarchy. I think these guys have the best looking armor sets and shaders as well. They've really got an upgrade in Destiny 2. Of course, let me know what you think down below in the comments, but I can't lie, this stuff looks really good. It's almost no competition to Dead Orbit, and the shaders look really good as well. They're red and gold. The weapons seem like they'll be okay, not really too sure if they'll be great. I'm a little bit salty. The Dead Orbit armor is really ugly looking in my opinion. I don't think anyone would disagree. It's definitely the worst armor set of the three, but like I said, Dead Orbit looks like the best shaders, Future War Cult have the weapons, and New Monarchy have the armor set, so it is quite even in that sense. Now, on top of those packages you can get, at the end of the week, Bungie is going to tally up which faction earned the most rep, and the winner is going to get a special weapon for sale that isn't inside those packages. If you pledge that faction, you'll be able to buy it for 1,000 Glimmer. If you didn't pledge that faction, it'll cost you 50,000 Glimmer to buy that weapon. So it gives a bit of purpose to Glimmer now, which I really like. So you do kind of need to choose wisely, but at the same time, it doesn't matter all that much, because Bungie even said you can pick a different faction on each character you have, so you can pledge across all three factions on all three characters and just buy the weapon on whichever character wins. So it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit, but regardless, I think it's a really cool idea. It's basically a community-driven event. But now that we've seen the gear, let me know in the comment section, which of the three factions are you going to be pledging to? New Monarchy, Dead Orbit, or Future War Cult? And who do you think is going to win? In Destiny 1, Dead Orbit was by far the most popular faction, so I feel like Bungie deliberately made their gear super ugly as an incentive to pick the others. But let me know what you think down below in the comment section. So next up, some really, really cool looking concept art that's got some very interesting stuff in there for Destiny 2 that Bungie released. A lot of it is from McKay Clark, who is one of Bungie's UI artists, and they showed a bunch of concept art showing the menus and how they came along. The first thing I thought was pretty interesting was the farm used to be called the camp. This is an early design of the EDZ map, so I guess at some point they changed the name of it. Also, the Almighty used to be on the Director, which is pretty weird. I guess the final missions, you would go here to activate them and launch them, whereas in the final game, of course, you launch them just by going to Earth and you fly to the Almighty. But I guess they probably realized since you can't explore the Almighty, there's not much point in having a Director node here. There's also this one, which is really, really interesting. So you can see all the destinations. They look slightly different, but you got the same ones. So you've got Earth, Titan, Io, but Nessus is actually the planet being eaten by the Leviathan, which is really crazy. We've seen this concept art of the Leviathan ages ago, but it turns out that weird planet in front of it used to be Nessus. Obviously, it makes sense because now the Leviathan is literally in orbit of Nessus, but you can see this is concept art of what Nessus used to look like while the Leviathan was eating it, so you can see the actual Earth being ripped up and being torn into the Leviathan. There's also some alternate concept of what the Leviathan looked like with a square shape, and also you can see the back of it finally when it's not covered in smoke. So you can see the back of it looks like a regular Cabal ship. Now, we saw this piece of art inside the Collector's Edition, but now we can see a new one, and this is actually the creature that Cal has based the Leviathan on. So it's a massive land whale that lives on the Cabal homeworld and eats cities over there. And Cal has based his ship on this creature, which is super interesting that the Leviathan is based off of this weird land whale. Really, really cool little detail there. Now, there's also this Crucible screen in the menu which shows where Iron Banner is going to be when it goes live next month, and you can tell this is what it's going to look like, as unlike the other concept, this is exactly how the final game is with the Trials icon. It's obviously not a massive surprise, but this is where Iron Banner is going to be when it goes live, and I'm sure Saladin is going to go to the tower to offer us loot and be the vendor for it. Now, on the topic of Crucible icons, there is a cool detail inside the tower that actually shows off the private matches icon. This is obviously the same one that will be in the menu when they finally go live in Destiny 2. I'm not sure who is the first to find this. I saw it from enquiries, but I never actually looked at this wall once. I always just ignored it for some reason. But this is pretty clearly the 3 pillars of Crucible: quick play, competitive, and private matches. Now, for those wondering, this is definitely not the Rumble icon. It is 100% private matches because it has a sword pointing down with the cogwheel, which basically represents custom games or being able to customize private matches. Now, this isn't the biggest surprise because we do know that private matches are, of course, on the way. Bungie said multiple times in interviews that it is towards the top of their list of things they want to add just after launch. So as I've covered in previous videos, we know they're going to be introduced soon. We just don't know when, and it's not going to be inside some kind of DLC because they didn't do it before and they're not going to do it, and it wouldn't make sense anyway, but hopefully they arrive sooner than later. So next up, let's talk about an important tip when it comes to power leveling your characters, which is actually something we figured out a while ago but has now been confirmed by Bungie. So this is that having multiple characters of the same class, as in 3 hunters, is not the fastest way to level up like it was in Destiny 1. So I'm sure some of you have noticed, if you have 2 hunters for example, on that second hunter, certain milestone loot like luminous engrams is going to drop below your main hunter's level. Now, someone posted about this on the Bungie forums, and Cosmo, a community manager from Bungie of course, he said he asked the dev team, and they said it was actually designed that way so you aren't forced into having 3 of the same characters of the same class just to level up quickly. Now, in Destiny 1, of course, that was the best way to level up fast. We all know you make 3 of the same characters, and it was basically the best way, but we all assumed it would work the same in Destiny 2, so obviously it sucks that we only found this out after deleting and making duplicates, but honestly I do prefer this because I don't want to have 3 of the same hunters just have an advantage, so I much prefer that you can have a variety of all 3 of them. The thing is, you still can make 3 duplicate characters if you want to. You aren't at a huge disadvantage. It really isn't that big a deal. You're still going to get the benefit of multiple exotic quests and the Nightfalls, raids, trials, everything else you can still do multiple times. It's only those luminous engrams and the occasional blue drop that won't be helping you anymore, as opposed to if you start a different character, a different class, that would be raising you. Now, in terms of my personal classes, I've got 2 duplicate hunters. Obviously, I'm a hunter as my main character, so I do like the ability of getting multiple hunter drops. If I do the raid twice on 2 different hunters, I'll basically get more hunter stuff. But I also have a warlock as my 3rd character, and that's the one that really helps leveling up between the hunter and the warlock. But that second duplicate hunter doesn't help much in terms of leveling, but it does help in terms of getting more hunter armor, of course. So you don't have to have 3 completely different classes. If you like one, I'd say make 2 of those and have a 3rd one as your kind of alternate character to level up fast. Or you can make all 3, or you can have duplicates of all 3 of the same one. It really is up to you. There's not going to be a huge difference. Obviously, if you wanted to level up the fastest, having 3 different ones would be the best strategy. Now, in terms of having alts for different classes, I know a lot of people often ask, isn't it slower if you can't infuse hunter armor into some warlock armor? And surely those other classes are going to be really behind in terms of their armor sets and their light levels. Obviously, a change in Destiny 2 is that you can't infuse hunter armor into warlock stuff, so they're kind of set on their own armor sets, but it's actually not that bad, and somehow the game is really generous. So when you transfer the weapons over, that's going to have really high level gear, obviously, and the game is going to pretty quickly start scaling your armor drops to catch up with those weapons you've got that are super high level, of course, from your main character. And not only that, but your luminous engrams, of course, are going to start dropping above your main character, which is the entire point of doing this, starting multiple classes. And then on top of that, of course, your tokens are across all characters, so you can just save up a bunch of those, open Crucible or NPC packages, not the gunsmith ones, and then your armor drops are going to start catching up to your main character really fast. And pretty soon this alt character is actually going to overtake your main one. That's actually how it works. So really, the character you start last is most likely to be the highest level if you play your 3 evenly, and they kind of leapfrog each other, and each one gets more powerful than the last one. So if you have 3 different classes, it does depend on which one you play the most, or if not, they'll kind of leapfrog each other if you play them evenly. But hopefully I explained that well enough. I know there's a lot of confusion around that. But it's nice to have some official info on this and know that it isn't a bug, it's actually a feature. Obviously, let me know your thoughts of this feature down below in the comment section, whether you agree or disagree with it. Like I said, I know it's unfortunate that we only got this confirmation now because most of us have already made and deleted characters, and especially spending like 6 to 8 hours completing the campaign to get this character and then find the drops are worse. I can see why some people definitely don't like this aspect, but those of course are the facts, and of course my tips as well when it comes to leveling up an alt character. But there you have it. As promised, a massive roundup of several topics. If you enjoyed the video and learned something, a like rating would be very much appreciated. Every time you like and interact with my videos, it helps the channel grow, so you guys are awesome. If you want to watch another Destiny 2 video from me, then click the image on screen right now, and I'll see you guys in the next one.